Right now, the current state of Duststale have hit a new low, from people making projects for the intent of clout and popularity instead of artistic merits and fun, to the misunderstanding that no matter what quality you put into a Duststale, it will inherently not work out in the slightest. Hey autists, Fat Autistic Kid here. Today, we will shift back to Dusttale, an AU that brought quite a large amount of content towards the community, for the better or for the worse. We will discuss how it is fundamentally flawed to a conceptual level to the point where any project will be doomed to fail. As of the time of this video, the very concept of Dusttale is inherently broken to the point where trying to fix the concept is next to impossible. Let me show you why. From what I was able to gather, the original concept of Dusttale came from a Reddit post from Austiophile, detailing many of the aspects that make up the AU. However, you will need to sift through a lot of other information in order to get to it, so merely finding it is pretty hard already. There are other sources like Tumblr and a Twitter page, though a lot of the information is hard to gather from there, so I'll be using a Reddit post for simplicity's sake. Without further ado, I'll show you what Dusttale is and how it is conceptually broken. There is not much information at all about how Dusttale can even happen, but from what I am gathering, it happens due to hundreds of genocides and resets. However, this does not seem to make any sense. If you do a true reset, nobody remembers what happens at all. Though, if you've done a genocide route before, the true pacifist ending will forever be altered, unless you obviously go to the files and remove that too. Dusttale seems to completely contradict this idea for some reason, somehow giving Sans determination, which leads to my next point. This might be the biggest issue with Dusttale. Sans being the killer makes absolutely no sense. First of all, the way he remembers the resets or timelines is straight up stupid, with him somehow getting determination which somehow makes him remember without having any explanation to how he gets it. Unexplained information like this immediately breaks the entire purpose of Dusttale, as there's no logical reason for the character to kill, but just random events that are impossible to happen for the convenience sake of the writers. Second of all, a character like Sans killing just doesn't work either. For instance, it's already established that Sans gave up trying a long time ago, so there's no point of him even considering any sort of killing. Third of all, the way people use the telekinesis eye just doesn't make sense. It uses a nonsensical theory about Sans' telekinesis eye, blue and yellow, somehow representing the soul colors, like justice and patience, so according to this, Sans should have a red eye for determination. This theory makes no sense because it has no evidence to back it up, besides pointing at colors and going, hey, they're the same, so it's true. This just backs up my theory about Undertale quote-unquote fans only caring about Sans and literally no other character in the game, while simultaneously destroying any inch of his interesting aspects of his character. But let's move on to how the community has made this concept even worse.
Every day when you're walking down the street.
If the already bad concept of Dusttale doesn't scare you, then the community has a lot to offer to you which will seriously make you want to die. Now, how do they do this? Well, they combine already bad concepts with other concepts, some not being so good. For example, Dusttale allows genocide, an AU that combines the already disastrous last breath for Dusttale, and now you get this abomination. How about we take the idea of disbelief, which is already quite flawed within itself, and combine it with Dusttale? What do you get? Well, disbelief, of course. Now we witness Papyrus, a character who would never kill, suddenly going through a character dynamic where he basically kills monsters and blames it all on the human. What if we give it the Underfell treatment? What if we give it the Understop treatment? What if we give it the Story Shift treatment?
Insanity is doing the exact same fucking thing over and over again, expecting shit to change. That is crazy.
These are the questions many people had for the purpose of milking the idea of Dusttale, and thus they create abominations arguably worse than the original. Now many of you are probably wanting to say something along these lines. Didn't you work for a Dusttale before? Yes, I have. And that's why I'm talking about this. So let's talk about a project I worked on myself. Well, it certainly took me a while to mention this project directly, but here we are. Now, There's a lot to talk about, so we should probably go from the start, the mere concept. Dusttrust is just Dusttale, Underswap, and Disbelief combined into 3 to make an abomination where Swap Sans, who would never kill, turns into a homicidal maniac. The concept isn't that good, and thus the entire project wasn't even that special at all, just being another generic phase fight and nothing beyond that, which according to most people in the community, they're fine with, and think it's really good. Unfortunately, the concept is not the worst part about this project, it's actually the production. One of the biggest aspects missing in the team was a lack of direction. Many team members would constantly argue all day and some even leaving the team, which resulted in more people joining the team, only for more arguments to continue. There was an imbalance of team members where there was basically one writer in comparison to over 3 different sprites and artists, so getting on feedback on specific parts was very hard. And this did not help by the fact that there was a musician helping a writer working on writing, which did not make sense. This does not help by the fact that there was a lack of ownership on Source's side, who did absolutely nothing for Dusttrust at all, yet got all the praise for the project. He also lied about not rebooting Dusttrust after X amount of times towards everyone, yet nobody seemed to care about that. The only time Source ever did something was when I left the Dusttrust team for a day, after commenting on how he did nothing for the project. And once me and Dunjun left the team a while ago, Source basically cancelled the project without me knowing. It's really depressing that I have to say all these things to someone who I consider to be a friend, but the fact that people who didn't even care about Dusttrust and only helped me out as a friend did more than whatever you did for many years being an owner, should really put into perspective how huge the issue actually was. I hope Source does a better job at owning projects in the future, but right now I cannot say that at all. As a lot of people probably know, I tried making a Dusttrust story because I felt like the dialogue in the original wasn't good, mainly due to a lot of restrictions, but I wanted to make a different version of Dusttrust which focused more upon Sans' psychology and understanding how he changes throughout the story, as well as some conceptual changes to make the terrible concept slightly more feasible. The first draft of Chapter 1 is on DeviantArt, though I'd rather you not look at that as I'll describe later on. Throughout its production, I've practically gotten no feedback on the project besides Pixel Icon, who did a great job at helping giving feedback towards me that I wrote, so I thank him for his contributions. Dunjun is the person who helped me change the story up the most, making me understand a lot of issues with the project that I never recognized. The third draft of Chapters 1 and 2 are finished, and as the time of this video, I'll be posting them on my DeviantArt page. Please, if you have any feedback and anything I could do to improve on it, give it to me because I desperately need to know if there's anything I'm doing wrong that needs to be fixed or improved. I might also be looking for some people who could help me make a final fight game for my Dusttrust take, so be on the lookout for that, if you're interested. In conclusion, Dusttale is a very flawed project with many people that take the idea and milk it for all it's worth, and Dusttrust is just a very flawed project with very dodgy production. Anyways, I hope all of you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you later.